All right, and the date is the 11th of July 2019. The time is 6 a.m. right here in Nairobi, Kenya. We're coming to you live from our studios on Mombasa Road. This is Morning Express. Today is Thursday, and we're going to be putting our pulse on the nation, on State of the Nation. And Third Way Alliance managed to get 100 million signatures, oh, not 100 million, 1 million signatures, and that is on their push to what they call Punguza Mzigo.
Absolutely.
That's going to be part of this conversation that we're going to have, and that is Matters Referendum. My name is Michael Gitonga.
And I'm Crooks. On Black and White, we'll be taking a look at bullying in some of our schools. Is it continuing, and what some of the effects it has on people who underwent that kind of treatment even decades later? As well as on Paper Review, we take a look at what's making headlines on our local dailies and see what are the funny, the interesting, and the very educative stories that are giving us, and what is being prioritized. Is it right? Is it wrong? We will be giving you a full analysis of that in a short while. But before we get into that, we also have our news that will gets you updated on what's going on in the country.
All right, and we kick off with your ticket to the show, and that's on the question that we have here this morning, where we'd like to find out from you. Do you think that the referendum is the change that Kenya needs? Is the referendum what Kenya needs for positive change? There has been a lot of clamor and talk about the referendum. There are those who've talked about the executive being expanded. There are those who are talking about a presidential kind of a system, a parliamentary kind of a system. So is the referendum what Kenya needs for positive change? There's definitely a lot that Kenya needs.
Yeah, and is the referendum key? We'll be looking deeper into that. And of course, I'm at Trix Ingado, and Mike is at Michael G. Gitonga. The official hashtag is KTN Morning Express. Get on Twitter, tell us what you think, and we'll be sampling your views throughout the show.
But as usual, we'd like to start off with some of those stories that are making headlines. Now, police have launched investigations into the deaths of the family of former Isuka Central MCA Richard Muchesia. Details from the incident indicate that the politician shot his wife and 2 children before turning the gun on himself.
This comes a day after a woman in Nairobi's Thome estate murdered her husband and 2 children before committing suicide. The family of the deceased woman, accused the triple homicide, is now appealing to the public for financial help to organize the burials. KTN's Mary Mwaki has those details.
The nation is yet again gripped by another gruesome murder that has wiped out an entire family. This house in Ongata Rongai is where the lives of the family of former Isuka Central MCA Richard Muchesia were brutally cut short. It is alleged that the former MCA, who unsuccessfully vied for a parliamentary seat in 2017, killed his wife and kids before turning the gun on himself. The incident drawing an eerie similarity to another bizarre murder on Tuesday, where a woman allegedly murdered her husband and 2 children before hanging herself in Thome Estate. Relatives of the deceased family say the couple had perennial domestic disputes.
Walikuwa na faragano, na huyu kijana alikuwa amelipoti kwangu, na nilikuwa nataka nimuelekeze kwa chief kwa sababu walikuwa hazikisani na bibi yake. But tulipokaa chini, sababu alikuwa anasema bibi yake has become so brutal. Nilipomwelekeza kwa chief ndio to book appointment, ndio both family waitwe, akasema watasuluhisha kifamilia.
The family is now calling on well-wishers for financial assistance to organize the burial of the 4 family members.
Kazi nafanya ni kazi ya kunoa kisu, ya kuzunguka hapa na pale. Ile pesa inapata ni kama shilingi 200, 300, inakula inaisha. Sasa sina uwezo usema ukweli. Wazauri maneno kama hii sikuwa natarajia ipatikane.
Walikuwa nasozana tu kidogo, lakini ungefikiria itafika hapo.
The bodies of the deceased were taken to the city mortuary, even as police launched investigations into the 2 separate incidents that have left the nation reeling in shock. Sociologists are calling for a national discussion to address the cause of these murders that continue to wipe out entire families. Mary Mwaki, KTN News.
Now that story is being covered on, or at least part of that story is being covered on page 3 of the Standard. Woman, husband and 2 children found dead in house. Of course, the house is being pictured there. The gate leading to the house in which the family was found in Pome Estate. And the other half, I believe, is on the Standard, on the Nation.
The Daily Nation, it's made it to the front page, and it is the puzzle of 4 murders and a double suicide. This is to do with MCA, Mr. Richard Muchesia, who, well, basically apparently killed his wife, his family, and then turned the gun on himself. And of course, bringing a very huge question that we've asked time and again regarding mental health. One would wonder if there were no signs that were indicating that there was trouble in the young man's life, which of course now only is discovered after a very, very tragic incident of 4 people dying after whatever it is that was going on in his mind.
Absolutely. And in the Standard story, it brings into play the whole Nyumba Kumi issue, because it was the Nyumba Kumi chairman who was alerted upon knowing going to the couple's house, and he found the entire 4 dead. So perhaps that's some of the benefits of Nyumba Kumi initiative.
Yeah, but very, very tragic right there. And we sure do hope that this is something that can be addressed. I don't know if the nation is generally stressed out, but there's something definitely wrong when people resort to murder. And it's becoming so common and so easy to hear of such cases. One wonders whether we are actually becoming more intolerant to a point where resolving anything becomes a matter of life and death.
Yeah, I know. Like somebody said, maybe we are spoiled generations.
Perhaps.
But clearly, at the end of the day, we need to find a way to deal with some of the issues that we're dealing with as a society. Now, let's move on. The former State House Digital Director, Dennis Itumbi, was released on a cash bail of 100,000 shillings, appearing before the senior resident magistrate Zainab Abdul. Itumbi was ordered to make an appearance at the Muthaiga police station every 2 days for 9 days.
And as Grace Courier now reports, Itumbi has also been ordered also to refrain from posting anything to do with the case on social media.
When breath became air, the ever-jovial man clearly anticipated a breath of fresh air away from police cells where he was held for a week. See, Itumbi was back before senior resident magistrate Zainab Abdul, in whose hands Itumbi's freedom was, literally.
Statements were to be taken.
The prosecution sought to hold him for a further 9 days, saying that they are yet to interrogate some of the members of the Tanga Movement WhatsApp group, where Itumbi is said to have shared this letter containing details of the alleged Deputy President Dr. William Ruto's assassination plot. And his release could interfere with some of them.
Persons from whom statements are to be recorded are cabinet secretaries and members of parliament, some of who are out of the country. Your Honor, we maintain our submission that number 1, our client has no capacity to interfere with the making of the statements by those individuals.
But the senior resident magistrate would have the last say.
That he be reporting once in 2 days, excluding the weekends, for the next 9 days at Muthaiga police station at convenient times to be agreed with the investigating officers. Number 2, that the power bank be released today. Number 3, that the mobile phone and SIM card be released at the lapse of 14 days from the date hereof. Number 4, that the respondent deposits a cash bail of 100,000 shillings. Mr. Dennis Itumbi, you are restrained from making any comments or posting anything to do with this case in the social media.
Itumbi is also supposed to submit his passport as part of the conditions.
I'm a happy person and willing to comply with all what the court has said, and also are waiting for what happens next. We will be at DCI once every 2 days, once agreed when, we will let you know.
The case is set to be mentioned on the 22nd of July. The prosecution failed to show how Dennis Itumbi would interfere with the investigations while in custody. Hence, the application to have him detained for a further 9 days did not hold merit. Grace Courier, KTN News at the Milimani Law Court, Nairobi.
Right, and that story is on page 6 of the Standard, and you're being told Mr. Haj, through his assistant DPP James Macharia, had told the court that they needed 9 more days, and of course that reflects the title, where we're being told Itumbi set free amid DPP Haj's protests.
On the Daily Nation, it's on page 8, Itumbi freed and gets social media gag, and that being part of what he is employed to do. Well, he has a gag, but mainly on posting anything to do with this particular case. And it's also interesting, the book that he was holding when breath of fresh air or something like that, and it looks like he was pretty much prepared for this particular incident. So he had even prepared how he was going to pose for the pictures, as this looks like a very posed for photograph. But there you go, Dennis Itumbi now free, but on a 100,000 shilling bail. He was also asked to give his passport up just in case there is risk of flight. But there you go. So of course that's a story that is unfolding and is developing, and we shall continue to follow it up.
Absolutely.
A section of Jubilee leaders have asked Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho to come clean on alleged assassination plot against Deputy President William Ruto. This comes only a day after the powerful PS denied knowledge of any report filed with investigative agencies about any assassination plot against the Deputy President.
And as our political affairs reporter Mrimi Mwangi tells us, the leaders' sentiments come as mystery continues to deepen on a video recording which Dennis Itumbi told the court proves claims of an assassination plot.
No conclusive investigations yet on the origin of this letter, widely circulated on social media, detailing existence of an alleged assassination plot against Deputy President William Ruto. But perhaps on his first breath of fresh air after 7 days in police cells over his alleged role authoring and circulating the letter, former State House Digital Director Dennis Itumbi was flanked by a host of Ruto-allied legislators who now say authorities are looking for answers in the wrong place and that the agencies should in fact just look up the Interior Ministry hierarchy for culprits.
Mimi nataka nieleze chairman mwenye hiyo maneno ama mwenye hii vituko yote na sarakasi tunafanya hapa na tumefanya for the last 10 days ya kwamba watuambie, kwa sababu tuko na clip itachezwa na chairman mwenyewe anajijua.
We have people who are purporting to be pretenders to the throne, ambao wanajifanya ambao pengine ni yao serikali kuliko ile serikali tulichagua, na tunataka kuwaonya ya kwamba hawatachukua rights za Wakenya na hawatadhulumu Mkenya yeyote kwa sababu anaonekana na mtu huyu ama yule mwingine.
4 cabinet secretaries led by Peter Munya of Industrialization have already appeared before the Directorate of Criminal Investigations over the assassination plot alleged to have been hatched at the basement of the Thika Road-based Lamada Hotel. A meeting whose video recording Itumbi claims to have and which he says proves the existence of a conspiracy to take out the country's second in command by a senior member of the Jubilee administration. Interior Principal Secretary Dr. Karanja Kibicho, under whose docket security matters fall, and who has severally been in the tanks of Ruto's allies for all the wrong reasons, waded into the assassination mess earlier this week, dismissing such reports as rumors and hot air.
I hear assassination claims. Who has complained? I'm yet to hear someone who has complained. And I think it's better that we stop creating things that don't exist.
I would want to play, because it would assist the whole of this thing they are trying to investigate, the video of the meetings, because it would prove that a member who works for my bosses has actually threatened the life of the Deputy President.
The DCI's investigations had recently stretched into a Ruto-allied WhatsApp group dubbed Tanga Tanga, and the DP's allies have asked him to bring it on.
As members of various WhatsApp groups, not just the 256 members that they refer to. And I said, personally, I'm in over 27 WhatsApp groups. We are more than willing to assist the investigators in whatever way they want to be assisted. We are more than willing. and we will be ready and willing to avail ourselves.
The prosecution is yet to formally prefer any charges on Itumbi, and as the assassination saga slowly mutates into a political circus, the DCI remains on the spotlight as Itumbi continues brandishing this alleged recording which he claims the agencies surprisingly don't appear really interested in their investigations. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News.
All right, and of course, that's a case that we're going to follow up as it continues to unfold, as more details come out.
Right, but meanwhile, members of parliament, a three-judge bench has been appointed to hear a case challenging the 250,000 shillings monthly allowance for members of parliament. Chief Justice David Maraga has picked Justice Pauline Namwea, Weldon Korir and John Mativo to hear the case filed by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
The High Court last month gave orders stopping the Parliamentary Service Commission from paying members of parliament the disputed house allowance following an application by the SRC. MPs have awarded themselves the 250,000 shillings monthly house allowance and backdated payments to October 2018. In its application, the SRC argues that the payment would amount to over 1.1 billion shillings annually, putting a further burden on the taxpayer. In other news now, maize millers have warned that that flour prices are set to go higher if the government does not fast-track issuance of a duty waiver to enable them to import the crop to bridge the deficit. The Ministry of Agriculture at any time expected to open up a duty-free maize window to cushion consumers from rising flour prices.
United Grains Millers Association Chairman Peter Kuguru says the government should prioritize importation to control and tame prices. A 2-kilogram packet currently retails at between 120 shillings and 140 shillings. This compared to 90 shillings about 2 weeks ago. Kuguru warns the prices could reach 150 shillings by the end of July.
Proposing to permit some millers our duty waiver so that it can be able to import some maize to cover the gap, because the current maize in the farms will not come out until October, November, when it dries properly. It might start coming out in late August, green maize, but harvesting maize will not be out for consumption by the millers until October. So between August and October, we require to mitigate that gap. That gap will require not less than, I would say, 8 billion bags for milling. 8 billion bags. And for general consumption now, and for animal feed, maybe another 4 million. That is why the government is talking like they want to import 12 million.
Narok Senator Ledama Olekina wants financial services being offered by the telecommunication companies delinked from those companies as registered as financial companies. Olekina said mobile telecommunication companies have failed to adhere to the low interest capping and have been exploiting their customers.
Information, Communication and Technology Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru told the Senate Committee on ICT that mobile telecommunication companies offering financial services may be registered as financial companies if there is justifiable and demonstrated need to do so on account of public policy or regulatory considerations.
To know whether mobile telecommunication companies and third parties such as banks have a safe data sharing platform that can protect customers, especially in reversal of erroneous financial transactions.
You send money to a wrong number. You delay, you didn't realize that later you find out that it was actually already cashed by somebody else. And yet it is so well engineered that you should know which agency got that money and track back.
That thing of taking money that you know is not sent to you is really theft.
We do have requirements on data protection. And in this case, the bank is responsible.
Senators also expressed concern that interest rates charged on loans and other credit facilities advanced to customers through mobile telecommunication companies do not adhere to the law on interest capping.
what consumers are being charged violates the law as it is.
The law on capping is actually on the credit facilities, and it is a maximum, as you know, of 4% above the central bank's rate. There are other charges that may apply. Okay, so in effect, the charges, particularly on the mobile loans, are more on charges than interest, really.
That now financial institutions have found a way to go around the induplium rule by introducing charges for these short-term loans, which end up violating the law.
Ledama wants financial services offered by telcos delinked.
The issue of telco and payment services have got to be separated. Because if they are not separated, they can bring down this economy.
If there are really justifiable and demonstrated reasons for us to be able to link the two, that's fine.
Institutions registered as credit-only lenders came into sharp focus when it dawned on senators that they are not regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
They are no better than Shylocks. So they are Shylocks on a mobile. In terms of the rates that they provide you, they are way above anything that most of us would see.
How do you allow someone to just come out there and say, I will give money and I will loan? Under what law? I mean, are we running another, river road economy?
But there is a danger, a big danger, in allowing those credit-only organizations to just continue operating, and yet all money is supposed to be regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
It's true, I did mention that it's not large in terms of relative to everything else. But remember, a match is not that large. One match can blow up an entire petrol station. So I think the dangers are clear.
The Central Bank of Kenya will soon table to Parliament regulations to streamline credit-only lenders. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has affirmed his support for the Kenya's call to have certain organizations listed as terror groups to aid in combating the menace. Also speaking at the United Nations Counter-Terrorism Conference in Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta said terror must be approached with the seriousness it deserves.
Kenya is playing host to the conference that seeks to amalgamate the world's approach towards combating terrorism.
According to this and other studies, in OECD countries, the only way to end terrorism from the root is to combat marginalization, inequality and discrimination, and implement real policies of inclusion and belonging for young people.
Groups like Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram have started showing that they are a cancer that starts in one region or one country and steadily grows from there, eventually having negative effects across not just that country, but neighboring ones within the region. Given this tendency for terror groups to spread their nefarious tentacles across borders, and given their stated goal of continent-wide oppression and subjugation, no African nation can rest easy, and we are all targets in the sight of terror groups.
It's true that Kenya has been asking for a certain number of entities to be named as terrorist organizations, and that until now was not decided by the relevant bodies of the UN. I fully believe that Kenya has been indeed facing what it is, a series of terrorist acts, and that they should be named as such.
All right, and that is on page 9 of the Standard. Uhuru launches county plan on terrorism fight, and of course that's a global issue that we have when it comes to terrorism, but now looking at it from a county level, and security of course being beefed up, and that's why we have the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in the country.
Yeah, and the president is being quoted as saying it is our goal to protect our children from multiple threats to their well-being that may make them vulnerable to radicalization.
Absolutely, and of course there needs to be a very huge and multitasked effort towards fighting terrorism. There you go. So it's on page 9 of the Standard. Should you want to get more details, please get yourself a copy of the Standard and see how that is going. Now, on to other news. ODM leader Raila Odinga now wants Taita Taveta County